Hey guys, it's Ale. I just wanted to pop up really quick to introduce the second part of my January wrap up. I was having some issues with the editing, but I think we're there now, and let's just jump into the other 3 books that I read for this month. So I'm back. The angle might be a little different because my camera battery died, and a while has passed since that last clip that it's gonna be on this video, so don't mind the new angle because I'm pretty sure I didn't get it right. But without further ado, let me just keep going to what I was saying. Next book I read was an adult romance, and I got the audiobook from the for public library. I'm not exactly sure which one, but pretty early into the story I realized that I wanted to get a physical copy of it because I was just enjoying it so much, and that is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I think this is her debut novel, and I gravitated to this book because it has that enemies to lovers trope, and like I've said many times I think already, it's what I enjoy the most. The story follows Lucy, who is the executive assistant of a CEO, but from a publishing house, but since that publishing house was bought by another publishing company, they now have 2 CEOs, and there's also another executive assistant for this other CEO. Their publishing mentalities of both of those publishing houses are also very different, and as well, and not only the ideology of like how to publish a book, but also of their own employees. So Lucy is completely different than the other executive assistant, whose name is Josh, and they are the 2 competitors in this hating game. I feel like what hooked me at the beginning of the story was Lucy's story more than anything, because she is an adult woman who you could say is a professional, but it's struggling a lot to get through life, and you might think that by then you will have your life sort of figured out, but she is struggling economically, and emotionally. I feel like she just feels like really alone, and the situation of that hating game at work also is not bringing her anything positive to her life. So I feel like because I was able to see myself in her with her struggles, I was able to empathize a lot with her character. The romance was what brought the lightheartedness to the story, into a certain extent, and I feel like the chemistry, or like the sexual tension that was between the characters, was very palpable, and it kind of like makes you feel really like fuzzy inside, and my breath will or like my pulse will quicken and then will catch. It was kind of weird, like when you're like your heart is beating really fast and then it stops, and then you're like that type of thing. I felt it when they were like about to kiss in that elevator scene. It was just like it's like I saw it happening in slow motion, and I was so excited. I gave this story 4 stars just because of the whole wedding situation, but I have as of lately finding myself thinking about certain scenes on the book, like kind of like remembering, and I'm not talking about like the sexy scenes, but like many interactions that I actually enjoyed. So I feel like maybe I should change the rating, but then there's also the wedding scene. I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna leave it as 4, but it's a book that up to this day I'm still thinking about it, and like I read it probably like 2 weeks ago, but super recommended. Like if someone asks me what is a romance book that you will recommend someone, it's probably gonna be The Hating Game for sure. Now my 5th book of this year is a book that I feel like I have no words to explain what was going on my head when I decided to read this. And I am not gonna talk too much about it because I'm actually doing a reading blog for it, and that is a series called The Gifted Academy. I've only read the first book, and I think it's called Wicked Gods. Wait a second. I wonder if it is. I wonder if that's the name. Give me 1 second. Okay, yes. So it was The Wicked Gods by Michelle Hercules. I want to say I was tricked into reading these books, but to be really honest, it was that same thing that gets me every single time. I was scrolling through Instagram, minding my own business, liking photos of books, and I saw this ad where it was, I'll put the picture right here, and I was just like, oh my god, that's so beautiful. It looks like fantasy. They seem to have uniforms. Let me see. And I ended up buying the omnibus, I think it's called, of all 4 books. I am still kind of confused and all over the place with this book, but what I can say is that it follows our main character. Her name is Daisy. I at least like the name, and she is a norm. There is this world that you might say it's our own, so maybe it's some type of like dystopia. I don't know. I know for sure it's paranormal because they have like this kind of powers. But our main character lives in a world that there are normal people without powers, and those are called norms. And then there is another humanoid beings that are called idols. They kind of are descendants of lineages of demigods, and they have powers. They can be classified through levels, and there's also like another thing that like another type of humanoid that I think it's maybe kind of like a hybrid of a norm and an idol, but I can't remember the name of it. So Daisy was an orphaned really early into her life because her dad was a professor that was asking the wrong questions, basically, and her parents get murdered, and she has to run away with her younger sister and basically try to make a living. One evening that she's working on a diner, these 4 idols get into the diner to eat, and lo and behold, there's gonna be a specific issue that throws them against each other, and they basically start the whole conflict between these 4 boys against her. Other theme that there is in this book is that there is something called harem, which is basically, like one character who has like different love interest. And that reminds me so much of The House of Nights by PC and Kirsten Cast, and I did not like those books. I probably DNF'd the whole series after the 3rd book, or like halfway into the 4th book, and it was just not for me. The writing style also reminds me of that, which is, like I said, there's nothing actually productive going on in their conversations, and we get a lot of like how is it that they call this, a lot of internal dialogue in our heroine's head. It is told by multiple points of view, and there's also a lot of triggers into this story, but somehow I find myself interested into reading the 2nd book. I gave this book 2 stars, and that is something that rarely happens with me, because even though I try to be critical, I always tend to see the positive and the bright side of any book, and maybe that's why most of my rating are 3 stars, even when I don't really connect to a book. But this one was definitely a 2 stars. Like, it has the writing style, it's awful. I am not really into many of those tropes that the story has, and somehow I'm still gonna read the second book. So I might be a little hypocritical saying that I don't like this type of books, but here I am. I already started the second. And my sixth and final book is a book that I got at Barnes and Noble this last time I went, and I've been meaning to read this author for a long time, and that is Katie Catugno, and the book I picked up, it's 99 Days. This is the other book I said that I keep saying I do not like when two brothers are against each other with one love interest, but here I am reading this book. This is a young adult contemporary, but the main characters are on their way to college already, and our main character, cannot remember her name. This is how much I kind of didn't like the book. But let me figure it out. What's her name? Okay, so I had to check the back of the book to see the name of our main character. Her name is I forgot already. What the fuck? This like I said, I had a lot of issues with the story, and I actually enjoyed Katie Catugno's writing. I was actually realizing that it's not it, you know, it's pretty good, like, because since my other last, since the read before this one, I was thinking like, oh shit, like, like I need to start paying more attention about the writing style of every book, because usually I read because of the story, like I just want to know the story and what's happening with the characters, so I really don't pay attention to the writing style. But I find myself appreciating how she writes and how she told the story. Molly, her name was Molly, yeah. So in the book we follow Molly, who is a high school graduate. She left town a year ago because she did some stuff, and her mother, as the writer that she is, took her story and put it in a book. And not only that, she actually revealed that the book had been based on her daughter's experience. Molly, since really young, grows up with the children of the Donnelly family. They're older, Gabe and Patrick and Julia, who are the kids that were her age, strike a friendship, and they grew up together basically. Throughout the years, her attachment to Patrick evolved to a relationship, but there were many things that I feel in a teenager relationship, in a relationship where you're young, we've had those moments when we want to be together all the time, but I feel like Molly and Patrick wrote together all the time that it really didn't let them develop their own personalities. Patrick was very reclusive, and Molly find herself wanting a little more. So on her sophomore year, I think it was, they break up for a couple of, for a day actually. And Gabe, who is their older brother, who was, I think at that time was graduating from high school, they ended up hooking up basically, and that was Molly's first time, and that is what it's included on the book. So because everybody in town, since it's a small town, is talking about it, she decides to run away. Unfortunately, for summer vacation, she has to come back. And throughout this story, I really like I said, because we get the story in the present, but in many chapters we also get to see what happened in the past with Molly's perspective. And it basically is not linear, like we're getting the backstory and the present, and I really like that about a book. That's why I say that I feel like the way that it was written, it's really nice. I was just not really fond of this story because we see Molly go through the same issues and still make the same mistakes. I think I rated it 3 stars because like I said, this is the 5th time I think I said it, but it basically got 3 stars because of the way that it was written. I feel like it was really well written, even though I was frustrated for 70% of it. And I'm also interested into reading the second book. I don't know if it's just a novella or if it's an actual book, but I will be pretty interested into. Oh, actually, this has the first chapter, but I wanted to record this video before actually starting it. But those are my thoughts in regards to 99 Days by Katie Cotugno, and I cannot believe I made it through this video. For being a monthly wrap up, it was a pretty wild ride for me, from the technical difficulties that I had to constantly repeating myself. I feel like this is something that you gotta really like it to put up with it. And I love talking about books. I sometimes think if I sound dumb about what I'm saying, but like, everybody has their own opinions and take whatever they want from what they're reading. It's a very personal experience, I feel. And sometimes I am a little insecure, but I am at the end of this video, and I am really excited to record some more and actually finishing those reading blogs that I started. But yeah, thank you for watching onto this time, like up to the end of this long ass video that I'm pretty sure it will be. And I will see you next time that I record. Well, I'm not gonna see you, but yeah, you'll see me next time. Adios.